Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Shooting Hedgehogs in a Barrel with me, Sonic Yoda from SEGADriven. If you're not familiar with this format, then it's basically a look at old fan games from yesteryear and seeing how well they hold up. The reason why I wanted to bring this format back is because in our previous video we took a look at Sonic Time Twisted, did a proper in-depth review, and I just thought it'd be fun to go back to some older builds of the game and see how far it's come. So this first build that we're looking at is the 2007 build. It uses the Sonic 360 engine for Game Maker, and yeah, it's obviously quite different. So sprites are mainly just ripped from old Sonic games. There's not too much custom work in here. The tile set itself is custom artwork, but yeah, the actual sprites themselves are mainly drawn from old Sonic games. The soundtrack's quite funny. So Overbound is clearly sort of just ripped bits and pieces from like old, edgy grunge music and used that for like his stage themes and things. It's all instrumental, so hopefully we won't get a copyright flag. But yeah, it's an interesting little demo. So this features two stages. We've got City Edge Zone, which doesn't appear in the final game at all. It's 3 acts, and the third act also includes a boss. The boss, interestingly, is Metal Sonic, and Metal Sonic does become the main antagonist throughout its entire sort of development period, so that's quite interesting to see how that was implemented almost from the get-go. The actual time travel itself is a little bit different, so it actually works mechanically very similarly to the original Sonic CD, in that you need a run-up before you can actually transport, so you'll get the sort of stars behind you, and then once you've been running at top speed long enough, you'll actually transport into past or future. So yeah, that does change. Obviously, in the final game, it's almost instantaneous. You hit the posts at speed, and you basically just get transported to past or future. So yeah, interesting there. It's also worth mentioning as well that the second act, which is a Perplex Puzzle Zone, also a stage that would not feature in the final game. That features one of the gimmicks that does actually stay all the way up until the end of development, which is the wormholes, which later get sort of used in Frigid Fortress in the final game. So yeah, another sort of like thing that I just picked up on. That lasted all the way through development. Like I say, this is 2007, so this is a 10-year-old build. Obviously, quite a lot of it has changed since then. Obviously, new engine, new graphics, lots of mechanics are different. But yeah, it's just interesting to see how far it came, sort of thing. So let's move on to the 2009 demo now. So this is quite an interesting change. We've actually got entirely new custom artwork now for everything, sprites, tile sets, the whole shebang. We've also got a completely new stage in the name of Dispot Drive. Yeah, this another stage that does not appear in the final game, but it looks quite nice actually. It still holds up quite well. We're still using the same Sonic 360 engine, so it plays very similar to the 2007 demo. By the way, despite the fact that this is an old Game Maker engine, it still plays quite nicely actually. You can tell it's a little bit twitchy, and the physics and the momentum aren't quite as accurate to 16-bit Sonic as you'd hope, but it's still perfectly playable, still perfectly enjoyable. It's just, yeah, it's not as accurate as the final build of the game would be to the original 16-bit physics. So the deal with this one then is we now have original songs as well for both the past and the future of the stage. Not all the music is original, some of it is still sort of ripped from existing Sonic games. This features 2 acts now, and the third act is basically just the boss stage. There's no actual like stage prior to the boss battle like it is in the 2007 demo. It's basically they've just split the boss into a separate act of its own. So that's kind of interesting. We've also changed the way the time travel works. It's now instantaneous as you hit the posts with enough speed, which is obviously much more like the final build of the game. Very similar in that regard. So it's nice and quick. The only thing I'd say is that the time travel posts are just so frequent in this. They're relentless. You come across them so frequently that you're almost always finding yourself hitting the past the future. And it does get a little bit irritating, it's got to be said. I'm assuming that's because this is also a demo, so they really wanted to like showcase how how that works and how quick it can work. But yeah, it's it's just a little bit too incessant, I think, in this build in particular. It's also worth mentioning that the credits on the title screen do list Slingerland as someone who does some of the artwork in the game. Now, if you don't know, Slingerland is the alias of Brad Flick, who is currently level designer on Sonic Mania. So there you go, there's a nice bit of history, and it's lovely to see how Sega has basically embraced Sonic fan games and pulled from the talents to actually make a actual, you know, Sega sanctioned Sonic game. So I just thought that was worth mentioning because it was a nice little thing that I spotted as I was idling on the title screen. So let's look at the final build that we're going to look at in this video, and that is the 2010 build. It's largely based on the 2009 demo. The only real difference is that the title screen now has some sort of added clocks and some custom music, which is quite nice. So we're getting a move towards completely custom graphics and music, and just the whole presentation is completely original. So that's really cool. This features the return of Perplex Puzzle, which we saw in the 2007 demo as well. Only one act of this is complete, but it does feature entirely new graphics, entirely new stage layout. It's got lots of interesting gimmicks like water spouts that you can fire yourself up on. Obviously the bubbles that you need to get your air back while you're underwater are all there. Past and future transitions are even quicker. So again, we're getting incredibly close to the way the game sort of will end up looking and playing in the final build. It's just we're obviously still using that Sonic 360 engine, so it doesn't have that same accuracy to the 16-bit momentum and physics. Yeah, and the only other once you finish the first act, which is quite substantial, it's a water stage as well, so it's quite slow paced. The second act is not really... It's basically a work in progress stage. It's called Lost Level. It features the same tile set as the future tile set from Perplex Puzzle. It's just that it's very short. There's a few bits and pieces kicking around, some gimmicks and some bad nicks. The past and future posts don't seem to work. But yeah, like I say, it's a work in progress. So this was obviously something that Overband was working on before he released this build, and obviously just decided to throw it in there so there was more to play with. So there we go, that's 3 builds of Sonic Time Twisted from 2007, 2009 and 2010. I just thought it was interesting to look back at the development of the game. It's obviously complete now, came out in April this year. I would highly recommend it. It's one of the best Sonic fan games that you can play, entirely finished and complete. Really, really well worth playing. And if you want to check out a review as well, there will be a link at the end of this video, so please do.